Hi, I'm Laura Kightlinger.
Hi, I'm Daniel Webb.
Our show is called What We Thought Would Happen because calling it Broken Dreams is too depressing. Daniel and I are getting to know each other as you're getting to know us.
Do most people become friends via podcast? Is that normal?
I think so.
Okay.
Here, does anybody do anything that isn't somehow monetized or whatever?
Exactly.
The first friend you make that isn't the family pet or your parents' friend's kid, because there's always something wrong with that kid.
It's always like a forced friendship, right? You're always like thrown in with somebody. So there was a girl across the street from us. There were two girls across the street in separate houses. And one you wanted to play with and the other one you did not want to play with. And I always got stuck with her, the one you didn't want to play with, because I guess nobody really wanted to play with me either. But she would steal from you, right? Take things from your house.
Oh.
And then you'd go to her house a couple days later and play. And there would be your shit at her house. And then she'd lie to you about it. Like, she was such a bad friend. She stole a Stegosaurus stamp, right?
No.
How many of those are rolling around the planet, right? And I was like, I remember seeing, I was like, that's my stamp. And she lied both to my face. She was like, no, I bought that for you because I thought you wanted to. What a bitch.
Wow, that's pretty quick thinking. That's quick on her feet.
Well, she was used to losing friends. I know.
I bought that for you.
But I guess she was really the only person that would play with me. So I guess technically we were friends.
She's a congresswoman now.
Yeah, she is a rabid MAGA supporting anti-vax. Babies are racist. Yeah, she's a congresswoman.
I remember my mom's friend's daughter. We were both about 8, and she was on the spectrum for sure. Before there was a spectrum, we were both on it. But she was more obviously on the spectrum, I think, than I was. She bit her fingernails down to the quick.
That's scary. That's not spectrum. That's serial killer.
I know, and it's like, what are you stressed out about at 8? You know, we both have single moms who are broke, and they include us in their stress. What's there to be, worried about that you would bite your nails down till they bled? And so I didn't want to play with her, and I didn't want her touching my stuffed animals because I didn't want her to get blood on my stuffed animals and my things.
That's a legitimate concern. I mean, like, as a child, that's all you have in your world are your stuffed animal friends. And that was your mom's friend's daughter.
Yeah.
And did you like her?
Not really, because she came in bloody. So,
would y'all play? Like, what would y'all do when you were hanging out?
Not really. Like, when she stopped biting her nails, I think I would try and get us to go to the playground or something, so we were outside on the swings or something.
Isn't there something? Your parents can only do that to you till a certain age, right? And then you become somewhat sovereign, that you, like, either both child realizes that you're not compatible, or that you just hate each other into different things. Because it was like right around like the first grade, the first friend that I ever like had was this girl Sangia. She sat behind me and would like always interrupt. She was super like kind of rude and abrasive to me. She'd tap me on the shoulder and stuff. Kind of annoying girl vibes, like leave me alone stuff. She taught me the word fart.
Oh.
She would swing me around. She was like a tomboy kind of. She'd swing me around on the playground and just let me go, right? And she and like I'd swing into like the playground bars and things like that. She'd just laugh her ass off. She's my best friend. I loved her. And then one day she said, "I'm moving," and I was like, "Okay." And then the next day, gone.
Oh.
Never saw her again. She wasn't my first friend, but she just was this wild impact.
Yeah.
She'd always say, "Somebody farted in the park."
What?
Yeah, that was how she taught me the word. She tapped me on the shoulder and she leaned up after recess and she whispered in my ear, "Somebody farted in the park." I was like, yeah. And then I got in trouble for laughing. She was so fun.
Oh.
Yeah, but Miss Turner was a bitch.
Oh.
No laughing. But yeah, I always wonder, there was no Facebooky social media that has brought us together again yet. So I just assume she's dead, right?
Oh, no, I hope not.
Like, where is she? And who farted in the park?
I don't know.
Only Sangia knows.
Jeez.
Right? She's probably like, how bad would it be if she was like dead? Like, I went to like Facebook or something, she's actually dead and she went to the grave with that secret.
Yeah.
If she is dead, I would love for her ghost to haunt me by saying, "Oh, somebody farted in the park."
I want her to. That's amazing.
Right. But she was a good friend.
I remember my first friend, I met her in first grade. And her name was Heidi. We're still friends. And I remember this photo of the two of us holding hands in front of a row of tulips on the side of our house. And just the look on our faces, we were beaming. Like we found each other. Like we were so happy.
But you're still friends with Heidi. We can say her name, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Does she remember the moment or the photo?
Actually, not that long ago, just was asking her if she had it, but my mom had it, and I think she, lost it or threw it out or something.
I think longevity is important with people and like friendships because you can either like hold people ransom for information. You can totally blackmail people after a few decades, right?
Yeah. But too, like friends don't hold hands. Adults don't hold hands in photos. And unless one of them is a beard. And it's a photo op, right?
Very Hollywood, exactly. Yeah, no.
That's suddenly they're holding hands like at the grocery store or at a snowy day in New York City.
If you see two adults holding hands in public, they are feigning heterosexuality. It's a total ruse, and unless you're super old. Yeah. And at that point, I think you're just holding onto each other for balance.
Yeah,
right?
that could be. Yeah.
It's more of a medical condition than it is like love and support.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, because I have like tons of photos of old friends. It's like one of those things where it's like you see a baby at like a social gathering and everybody holds the baby. Mm-hmm. And you think that baby's never going to see half those people ever again in their fucking life. Like, who held you? Who held me? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you have all these kids that get in your, like your friends when you're a kid and the influence they have, and then you never see those people again. Mm-hmm. Like Singia.
Yeah.
Like I can, from since then, anytime I hear someone say the word fart without rolling the R, it doesn't sound right.
I'm still friends with my first friend that I made.
The tulip
Heidi.
friend?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh. And we went to our 20th high school reunion, which wasn't that recent, sadly. But anyway, the funny thing was when we were there, I thought, well, I knew I had been on TV more than the 210 people in my class, right? Like I thought I would get some kind of special attention or somebody.
You have to be the most famous person.
I felt like I was kind of like triumphantly returning, if you will.
Absolutely.
Because I was in, couple school plays at the, this banquet room, like it was in a Holiday Inn and it was a buffet and really, just cheesy, whatever, just everything was, cheap and whatever. So I was sitting with Heidi and then the gay kid that I went to the prom with, of course.
You were his... Mm-hmm. I have a friend like you.
Yeah.
Was he gay then? I'm sorry, I keep interrupting.
Yeah, he was, but I didn't know that. And then he sat at the table. And then these two other women who looked familiar sat at our table. And then I looked around and all the other tables were packed with the jocks and the cheerleaders. Some of them married each other. And then I realized the two other girls were the shy girls that were also never picked for basketball with me.
Tall couldn't get you picked?
No. And I said to Heidi,
fun.
My God, we're still at the unpopular table. I mean, I was just like amazed. Like
nothing has changed.
Yeah.
I've avoided that. I've avoided high school reunions. I haven't avoided, but I haven't flown home for it because I very much felt that was going to be the same thing. And I was like, I don't want to be rejected by the same people that rejected me. Like, I don't want that.
I know. And it's such a shitty feeling because I think at some point when you're growing up and if there are people who are, brutalizing you or making fun of you, wherever you think.
Brutalizing is a good word.
And you think someday I'm going to show them.
Yeah.
But you won't because they're going to be the same.
Yes, that's the thing.
You were weird then and you're actually now that you've been a bit of a success, you're weirder now.
Well, and that becomes more resentful. There's like there's kind of no way to satisfy that. Yeah. It can be good motivation for you to try to make something, whatever that something could be of your life. But I recognize that too. There's like if
there's going to be an asshole who ever says, I was wrong about that person. That's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen. We always swore we would only go to our high school reunions if we could literally bring Sharon Stone with us. And then we would do rails of coke off her tits in the bathrooms because we wanted people, if we were going to be a mess, we wanted to be a mess. Like we wanted people to be like, did you see Daniel at the reunion? He was doing cocaine off of Sharon Stone's tits. What a nightmare. You know what I mean? Like, and the same resentful, like he's always been weird.
Yeah.
But let's fucking be weird.
Oh, that I have never and still would never aim that high.
I mean, not to insinuate that Sharon Stone is a coke dealer or doer or would let a homosexual man inhale narcotics off of her décolletage. But all those things sound fun.
Yeah.
Right? And in front of all the people you've been trying to impress for the last 20 years. If nothing worked, this will. Like
the only thing that could possibly be a little bit better than that would be to have Stevie Nicks ground into a powder and then snort her up your nose. when did you come out? If you don't mind, would you rather not talk about that?
You can ask me. That's fine.
Okay.
I don't mind talking about it. I'm a woman of a certain age that there was like, it's of a time like last century. If you didn't say anything, you were closeted, right? And then you kind of you were expected to like kind of label yourself. But also at the same time, I was 10 years old and performing as Carmen Miranda, full fruit hat in the talent show. Like what about that needs to come out of the closet? Do you know what I mean? So there were plenty of clues. But then also I kind of made viral news. I met President Obama a few years ago because being gay is like basically illegal in Texas, right? Like it is not okay still to be fucking gay in Texas or lots of places. And I met Obama. He came into a restaurant where I work at the time. This is pre-Supreme Court okaying gay marriage, right? And I said, equal rights for gay people. Obama looked at me because it was a weird thing to say at the time. And he looks at me and goes, are you gay?
Wait, where were you?
I was working at a barbecue restaurant in Austin, Texas, and the president was in town. Everybody knew it.
Okay.
It's a small town, so when any person's in town, it's noticeable. So yeah, I was just this cashier at a barbecue restaurant, and then the president comes in. There's all this press there, and all these people. Everybody's freaking out, which is fun. Have you ever met a president?
No.
Oh, well, me neither until that. But it was cool. Wait, did you?
Shoot, I went to an HRC benefit when I was working on Will and Grace.
Yeah.
And there's actually, I met Clinton, President Clinton, and I have a photo of it, and we'll put it on my site. We should put this on our What We Thought Would Happen site. But anyway, in the photo, you can see Clinton's fingers on he gave me a side boob hug.
Oh my gosh. Was he charismatic and all the charming and everything that everybody says?
But, and it was funny, he was with Kevin Spacey,
what?
Who was of pretending to hit on this other female writer.
Oh no!
Yeah,
that actually is a very interesting, relevant photo these days.
Yeah,
it's hard. I don't romanticize Clinton for his predatory past and stuff like that. I certainly can separate the two things, but it is fascinating how people very JFK, how people will just gloss over that because of the charisma of it all. Does Kevin Spacey have the same? Yeah,
I was more, I mean, as far as meeting two famous men or whatever, I was more attracted to Kevin Spacey than Clinton. And the only star that I've met that I felt like, woo, had just like this aura or something about them was Eddie Murphy.
Wild.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's like, because when you've met like all kinds of famous people. At what point does a famous person, are they like your friend or you're like, oh, we're colleagues, or wait, I'm just a fan? Like, because there's a lot of blurry lines in that territory. Like, it's hard to know who's your friend, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think I tried to insinuate myself as a friend to can I have your email just for the
that's a great way to say it. Yeah,
I know.
like
I was a huge fan of Albert Brooks, and so it was like
I love Albert Brooks,
the thrill of my life to be in a Curb episode with him. And I asked him for his email.
Broadcast News is fucking funny.
Oh, he's just brilliant. I think he's
hilarious
amazing.
Movie. The scene where Joan Cusack is running down the hall with the live tape and she's smashing into like the water fountain and then like the thing, that movie's way underrated.
Yeah, she's incredible. Oh yeah.
What was it like to meet Eddie Murphy? I'm such a starfucker. I love hearing this stuff.
Oh, well,
because I imagine he's really short. No disrespect. Now
it's like I'm plugging everything, but I was in Daddy Daycare. Yes. I had a small part, and the crew came in and they all fist bumped him, and I was like kind of next in line to say hello, so I held my stupid fist out. And he was so like charming, and so he kind of smiled and goes, "I can shake your hand." I was like, "Oh, okay."
See, that's what I'm saying. You're a colleague. You're different. Like you're in that league. That's what I'm saying.
But I think it was just like, no, you're like a kind of an awkward white jackass. Trying to be cool and fist bump me.
Well, okay, because when I met Obama and I made my stupid joke, he goes, "Are you gay?" And I go, "Only when I'm having sex," which is a very inappropriate thing to say to the president or anybody really. But it was just some like stock line I'd always had. He laughed really hard, and then he raises his hand and like raises his fist and starts moving toward me. And he actually does say to me in life, he goes, "Come on, bump me," like that, because I clearly was like, I'm the goofy, awkward white person who's like, "I'll shake your hand," right? That kind of a thing. So he literally had to kind of like give me a cue to be like, "Come on," like that sort of thing. Because equally, I felt like, I don't know, I was out of place. But the charismatic thing about Clinton, I'm sure it's the same with like Eddie Murphy, because like Obama like glows.
Oh, I would like to meet him.
He radiates. And I'm a tall person, but he seemed taller.
Wow.
which is hard to do. I don't feel smaller than most people.
Because you're 6'2"?
6'2", on Grindr, I'm 6'3". You got to get an inch where you can.
I usually say it depends on my mood, but I think I'm 5'9".
Well, I used to wear cowboy boots every day because I like a heel. And
I do too.
Yeah, it's good. But ever since I quit wearing boots, I've lost, I think, a lot of stature within the city.
No.
within the community.
We are the tallest people in LA, by the way.
Which, is that a benefit? I don't know.
Everybody is a miniature.
Are people
out here.
scared of us? Yeah.
Maybe so. All the actresses out here are 5'2", in
Yes.
case people don't know. And I had to stand in a ditch next to this woman who's amazing. I'll say it. It was Regina King, and who's also beautiful and funny. And I had to stand in a ditch next to her because I was so much taller.
They can't put her on an apple box. They got to put you in a ditch.
You don't put a star on an apple box.
Is that? Oh no! What, they put you in a?
They put the.
Can we find a crawl space? We have a scene with Laura and
Yeah,
Regina.
exactly.
That's so mean.
Let's just keep burying her. And you know what? Let's just cut her out altogether. That's what happens at the end. Let's put her down deeper. No deeper. No deeper. Fuck it. Okay, and put the dirt over her.
She's digging the hole herself. She'll be fine. I just had, I don't audition a lot, but I just did. And I had to audition with a friend, which is awkward. You know, when like you show up with like, I guess a colleague or whatever, but I work so little that we're more friends than I could say colleagues. But this person, she is like 1.5 feet shorter than me. I'm tall. It's not her fault, but she's celebrity tall and I'm fucking freakish tall. And our scene was just weird because of that, right? We're supposed to be side by side on camera. So we're both looking like I'm a fucking periscope. Do you know what I mean? And it was
It's like
just,
you've got a bug on your shoulder.
well, but even worse is it's your friend. So I can't even like act or whatever because it's my buddy and that's throwing me off. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I never work well with friends because all I want to do is like knock off and be friends.
Yeah.
There was a friend who's a flight attendant and I know him. We're friends. And then we're on the same flight. He's working. And then what he does is he flies somewhere, hooks up, and then comes home. He's got the life. But he was like, I thought maybe when we got to the same time, we would like hang out or see each other or something. And no, it was like, oh, we're not friends. We're just... Yeah, gay colleagues.
Oh, well, that's one. I guess that's a good thing about being straight is you're never friends with somebody that you fuck. And you know that.
I see. I need those kind of lines. I need things to be black and white like that. I don't need the nebulous. Like, do you want to go to brunch with 9 people you fucked and 1 person you still haven't yet but want to? Like, I can't handle that. Because then nobody's eating, right? Everyone's too scared to eat.
What was the first thing you bought when you first got your allowance or when you had your own money?
Oh, we did have allowance. Did you have allowance? Mm-hmm. Ours was a scam. Our parents thought we got $2 a week. This is in the 90s, right? Like that's still pretty low. We got $2 a week. And then the rule was to teach us about savings. Ha ha, look at me now. We had to put $1 in the bank. So 50% of it immediately went to savings. And then the other $1 that you had that week, I mean, yeah, it was a fucking 90s. What can you buy for a goddamn $1? So it took a while to scrape up. And then I'll tell you what really washed me out was, you know, those like fan magazines, Teen Pop and things like that from like the 80s, 90s. I called one of the, in the back, they'd had like a 900 number. Talk to the stars.
Wow.
I would give my eye teeth to talk to Paula Abdul. So I fucking called the number and racked up like, I don't know, $60 and charged. Well, that's a year's worth of allowance. I got busted.
Did you talk to her?
No, it was a scam. It was a total scam.
I thought they might have her voice recorded.
Not even close. It was a total scam. Anyway, but so that set me back a year. But finally, when I would buy like cassette singles with my allowance and I would buy comic books and like Teen Pop magazines where I would later lose all my money in a telephone pyramid scheme. But yeah, it was music. I buy a lot of music stuff.
That's very, I think that's really cool. I mean, like that you cared about, you know, music. And
someone had to support Paula Abdul and Mariah Carey. They weren't going to do it alone.
Right.
You know, what would you get?
I remember, and I was probably like,
first of all, what was your allowance? And if it's more than mine, I'm going to scream.
I don't remember. I think my mom I don't think I had anything weekly because my mom didn't have anything regular. Right. I mean, she was always working hard. She had a job at the phone company and then sometimes she would waitress. And then other times she would sleep with my dad. And seriously, because he wasn't giving her support, he'd have to give her some money after they slept together.
Fuck.
So I remember she was getting her hair done and I was probably, I don't know, 7 or 8. And she gave me like probably $2 or $3. And I went down to this which I thought was a really expensive, nice store. It was called Robert Hall.
It sounds nice.
Yeah, and it was so funny because it wasn't Zayre's, and it wasn't James Way. You didn't remember? Did you have James Way?
Stripling and Cox. There's like some store names that like ring bells that sounded very bougie, but we're just not.
But yeah, so I knew that the James Way and Zayre's were like for poor people like us. And then so this was like at the end of the block, and it was Robert Hall. And so I went in and I found this shirt, and it was half price. And I was like, oh my God, this is great. And I tried it on, and I was like, I can't believe this is $2.99. And I bought it. And then I showed my mom, and I was really proud of myself, for getting this bargain shirt. And she said, the tag says as is. And I said, oh yeah, I saw that. And to me, I guess I thought it meant it doesn't come with anything else.
Yeah.
Like there aren't matching pants or anything.
Yeah.
It's just
it
that.
Stands alone. Yeah.
Yeah, which is so stupid.
No.
And then I realized that the back of it, like the hem was all kind of crooked and messed up, and that was the as is part.
Yeah.
But I just think of like all the things that I really
Did you feel fooled or duped, or was it wearable?
I wore it, but I felt stupid. I mean, all the things that I misconstrued as a kid. Like I remember too, like at Christmas we made plates for our parents. Like we made a design, and then they came back with these kind of plastic plate things.
Yeah.
And I made a really simple design because I thought, who would want just one plate? I'm going to have to do this again so that she has 4.
Right.
And then when I gave it to my mom, she said, oh, that's nice. It just looks like something a really little kid would do.
But you were thinking
really
simplistically, you were like, why would go through all the trauma of having to do this over and over and over and over again? Taking it easy on her. My cousin Casey, who always had a boyfriend when we were kids, she got dumped. I was really sad about this boy who dumped her. And I didn't know that word, romantically speaking. And so that was like new to me. Flirting and dumping, getting dumped were like the 2 words I learned at the same time. But then, like on the roadside, there's like, no dumping here and stuff like that. I literally thought that those were like zones where you're not allowed to break up with someone. And what I pictured was, you are not allowed to pull your car over and break up with someone here.
I love
because
that.
You can't just dump them on the side of the road, right? Like you need to pull over to a better area if you're having an emotional moment.
That's clever, though.
But kids are so literal like that. Like that's how kids interpret stuff. So your as is like you still thought you were following the rules, right?
Right.
Yeah. I love that because kids are dumb. I was a stupid kid.
Well, I was in the slow class in 2nd grade. I don't even know what they would call that now.
Sure.
Better luck next year. Somebody's got to protect the president.
So what is what does that mean though? That you were in a separate class or
I guess remedial is what they would call it. Yeah, because I wasn't doing well in 1st grade with homework. I wasn't doing homework. I wasn't doing anything well, and I just wasn't getting enough attention.
So I think that I was always in the smart math class, which is ridiculous because I'm awful at math and always had horrible grades. But I think because I was like tall and might have been confident. I have no clue why I was ever put into that, whatever, because everything else maybe, but like I did not shine mathematically.
I loved being in the slow class because that was like sort of not necessarily a Lord of the Flies situation, but I was definitely, I was sailing through it and I thought, this is great. I have no homework. I love it here. And the kids kind of looked up to me.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I needed that. Like I was sinking in a sea of all these overachievers. Like, that's what I mean. I needed to be the star because when I wasn't the star in the math class, I didn't give a fuck. So I wasn't trying.
Yeah. Well, I still blame my mom for that because she told me that one time she's rushing and I had really curly hair. I had like an afro.
Oh, that's cute.
And she was rushing, broke a comb in my hair and just left it in the back. And I didn't even know. Yeah. And so, yeah, maybe I started a trend actually because this is, late 70s. And, but they probably thought, well, she can't.
This girl can't even brush her hair.
Yeah, and she can't even do.
We're trying to put a pen and pencil in her hair, in her hand.
It took me, but also it took me forever to tell time.
No, Laura, we are related. Okay, this was the hardest thing for me. My fucking 3rd grade teacher, and she's dead, and I'm glad of it. She, on the way out, 3rd grade, right? She gave me each kid a hug. And the last thing she said was, I'll never forget, she shook me by the shoulders and she goes, learn time. Because I could not understand for the life of me that it wasn't 100. Like an hour was not the number 100, right? Because that was like the measure for everything, right? 100 to 1,000, everything was in those like increments of 100. So to stop at 60 made zero fucking sense. So even I will never forget, there was the like worksheet with all the clocks. And it would be like, it's 9 o'clock. Put it on the right, show where the hands are and all that kind of stuff. And I would just leave them blank because there was no 100. You know what I mean? I just thought they were all trick questions or something like that. I thought it was a game or something. I never could tell time. That was a block.
I always suspected it. And then I went to a psychiatrist and he said, yeah, you have attention deficit disorder. But then I just thought, I kind of wish I didn't know that because now it's like an excuse to be rude.
Okay, maybe I do want this. I want a hall pass. Like, I want a clearance on that. Because, okay, I need to go to a psychiatrist. That's who diagnoses you.
Or a therapist.
I notice this. The older I get, the more people ask if I'm in therapy. That was not a normal question. And now it is a normal question. So, like, now I'm getting referrals. Thank you very much. But yeah, I would love a diagnosis.
Yeah.
I think that would answer questions, but I do think that there is like a privilege you get when you find you're like, oh, that's why I am the way I am.
Right. Yeah. An excuse not to change.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So that is one of my favorite lines about not being in therapy is like, well, I'm a fucking narcissist. So like, I'm all I think about. So yeah, I'm reflective all the time. I'm evaluative and analytical of myself all the fucking time.
I love to give advice, even if it's bad. Hey, by the way, what's the worst and the best, or if you have worst and best advice you've been given as a stand-up?
In real life, I don't think a stand-up has ever actually given me like advice that direct. Comedy's so competitive.
Yeah.
But my two friends, Ralphie and Mike, they're gay guys down in Austin. One's a comic, one's a performer and a producer and a writer, but he's not a stand-up. Both of them separately are the ones who told me to start stand-up.
Oh, great.
And so I think that was probably obviously the best advice, but because they were performers and comedians and I know how competitive and kind of non-inclusive that is. So yeah, I would say that / there's this brilliant Phylis Diller interview with Roseanne where Phylis Diller says, some old comic, I forget the name, talked about how to introduce yourself to an audience, right? Which is what you're forever doing as a new comic, right? Until you get to a certain point, you're always having to introduce yourself for years. And the advice was tell 5 hot jokes and keep going. Oh, which is a perfect
amazing
formula.
Yeah.
It totally works. And so that is what I've done since day one.
But I was lucky enough to meet Phylis Diller through this friend of mine, Henriette. Phyllis it was her 92nd birthday, and she just wanted to have like a few female comics.
Unreal.
So my friend Henriette Mantel and a few other female writer comics.
Who? I'm obsessed with
I
Phyllis
actually
Diller.
didn't know who they were.
Yeah. This was at her house?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where was she? Was she in the hills?
No, she's more like, she was Brentwood. There was a huge painting of Bob Hope when you walked in.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah,
she did?
No, like a professional. It was on an easel because that was the love of her life.
Right.
And anyway,
that poor thing.
We all had drinks.
Martinis? What did she drink? I'm so nosy. Sorry.
Yeah. No. We had martinis, and she had a butler bringing out martinis on like the silver tray, and I was like, I'm in heaven.
Yes.
And
I'm so jealous.
So we all had martinis, and we toasted, and we said, we sang happy birthday, and we said, and I remember saying, and many more, and she said, no. Not many more.
She was real about wanting to die.
She's so damn funny.
There's an interview where she was like, when it's done, it's done. And I think she talked about how her family was not okay with that. She's like, I'm ready. She had, I think, do not resuscitate. Mm-hmm. Like there's an interview, I forget where she's very clear about had a great time. I'm on golden time. Call it. Which I love.
Yeah. I think she was so fun. Yeah.
I think being that close to 100, people feel like kind of push the gusto of making it that far on you. Yeah. And I'm sure at that point, like her, she's like, fucking no. Yeah. Like, leave me alone.
Yeah. I've been hoarded out enough.
You were friends with Phylis Diller.
Oh, no. I mean, I just met her one time.
That counts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it was funny. Well, she's just like, was so quick too. I drove there and was doing everything but drive when I'm in the car.
Yeah.
And so I was opening, it was so crazy. I was opening this box in the car on the way there with like a box opener or something that I had in the car, you know, a sharp thing. I cut myself. So I'm standing at the door and my hand is bloody. Doesn't have anything to do with it. And then she actually answered the door and she said, and saw that my hand was bleeding down to my elbow. And she said, "Oh, Henriette, I think one of your friends is here." Or someone's here, and I think it's one of your friends, Henriette. And I was Henriette.
The bloody person stranger at the door.
Yeah, like this nut who's at the door with a bloody hand.
I love it. That's really special.
Yeah, and then another one of Phyllis's friends, who also I think was kind of her caretaker. She was a nurse. She took me right into the bathroom and took care of it.
Oh my God, I have 100 million questions to ask. She had a really fine house, right? Like a very nicely furnished.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah.
She was a lot more stylish than I think people give her credit for because she was so strange looking on stage, intentionally so.
Right.
Like the wig and everything. Like she did that on purpose, but like she was very chic and very pretty in real life and stuff.
Yeah. Phyllis said that at Bob Hope's funeral, she tried to befriend Dolores kind of, or just say something. And Dolores was like not having it. She said something like, "No, I'd rather not."
She was always, so I wonder, was Phyllis like always was the other woman in like Bob's life, as opposed to just the many other whatevers that Bob had going on?
Yeah.
Fascinating. Well, because people forget that he was like, it was Bob and Bing Crosby, for Christ's sake, being comedy giants for a second. I mean, it's 100,000 years ago, but they were like kings of funny, attractive men.
I know, and what amazes me is like that Bing Crosby was kind of known for Christmas albums and stuff, but he beat his kids. He was
a monster, right? Yeah, a total monster. I think he beat his wives too and stuff. Yeah, I don't think he's a nice person. Yeah, I think even like he like died on the golf course or something, but I think the story is he was like mean to the caddy that day or some shit.
Yeah.
I'm only going out to shows and that's the people I see, so it's usually comics, and there's a weird way of making friends with them. It doesn't feel like they're your friends. It's like a colleague exchange. Yeah. And then that when your car breaks down, you can't call any of those people for help. And then they're going to use it on stage that your fucking car broke down and they left you stranded. Like, so that's my dilemma in like adulthood, or at least in LA, is like, because then I'm just chatting up the CVS cashier and they're like, "Get the fuck away from me." Right?
Well, this is like a classic what we thought would happen moment. I was doing stand-up for the first time at Catch a Rising Star in Manhattan, and I was at the bar getting ready to go in, to the main room to do a set. And it was basically an audition, but I remember standing there and seeing all these 8x10s of famous comics, like Louis Anderson and Richard Pryor and George Carlin and Freddie Prinze, and thinking to myself, better get used to it. I'm going to be there too, on that wall with my 8x10. Anyway, so when I finally got called into the room, there'd probably been about 4 comics, and it was a weekend night, which you should never have auditions on a weekend night.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, because it's just too crazy. And everybody was smoking and drunk. And I was about to go on, and the club manager, booker, said, "It's going to be another minute. We'd have a drop-in guest." And I said, "Okay." And it was Jerry Seinfeld. He went on for 25 minutes.
See, why would they do that?
I know.
Don't they see plucky Laura Kightlinger sitting right there, and they know what they're doing?
Wait a second. Comics are narcissists? Is that what you're saying? They don't give a shit about anybody but themselves?
I mean, do you remember who was after you?
No, but I was like, I wound up being I went out right after Jerry Seinfeld. And
how did that feel? What were you thinking?
Oh, it's terrible. Oh, I think at the moment I was thinking, well, he's really like livened up this crowd. They're going to love me. That was another what I thought. And then I went on and ate it.
Yeah.
For 5 minutes.
But when you went on stage, you were like, "I got him. This is mine. This is going to be great."
Yeah. I mean, I was still nervous, but I just thought, okay, now this
is going to be easy.
Primed. And I got heckled, like this weird heckles too. It was all the smoke and being heckled. Who are you? Are you David Letterman's girlfriend?
No.
Why are you here? And this, and and all my great comeback was no, that kind of shit.
But why wouldn't they also, why wouldn't the audience give you a chance? Like, clearly, it's hard to recover from someone doing 25 minutes. I mean, how long were you supposed to do? 5 minutes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think they were still kind of getting over him. They gave me a little bit of a chance. Like there were some.
I was going to say, how long were you on stage?
I had timed out a 10-minute set, and then when I was up there, it turned out to be 4 minutes.
I was going to say, at what point were you like, oh shit, they hate me and this is not?
Yeah, well, when it was turning to hecklers, and I didn't really know what to do with hecklers, and then
Well, it's so hard to. This is like I don't think people realize how hard it is to reset the room after like. I mean, I like Jerry Seinfeld was a big name and stuff like that, I guess, at that point. Or even just the time to do 25 fucking minutes and be like, okay, everybody, look at me. Like, here I am. And they have no clue who you are. I don't mean like that, but like,
of course
uphill.
They didn't. Yeah, sure.
But you are on that wall now, though, like, and you are with all those people. Well, maybe not to Catch a Rising Star, but you are in the lore and the legend.
No.
When you did Hags, we were all the comics at the back were just in awe. We were stacked at the back, just like watching you, like that's how it's done, like the whole time.
Oh, that's sweet.
So similarly, there's a small club in Austin, not the club, but a smaller one. And there's just a like a shitty little open mic on Thursday. Great place to just try time. And one night, not that this is a big deal, but in a small town, like Jeff Ross showed up. But he comes into this open mic. Everyone's all abuzz. And then he goes up. I'm telling you, everyone's doing 4 minutes. And it's the shit bottom of the barrel. Like, I'm there too. No one's doing good. He does like 30. And then, of course, there's 14 more of us who are going up to do our crap 4 minutes to try to salvage our dignity. And I just remember that, of course, he's killing because he's a movie star to us, right? By compare, relatively speaking. I just remember thinking, I was like, what fucking nuts ego on this person to try to kill it in this room of all places.
Wow.
Like,
so then
what a weird stroke.
You knew a lot about stand-up at that point to know that wasn't cool.
I just knew because I had already done my bit, so I felt off the hook. And I remember seeing my friends who were like next on the list and being like, I can't believe they have to sit through this. I would hate to be sitting through this. I also had just heard Jeff Ross has a really good story on Stern about his first roast. First Fire Club's roast, Milton Berle and Don Rickles are there. When Jeff Ross is finally up doing that, Milton Berle is sticking his finger in Jeff Ross's ribs.
Weird.
Which is super weird.
Yeah.
And he's just like poking him. And to finally he feels like he has to address him, like, Milton, what the fuck? And then Don Rickles interrupts and says, Milton, let the kid work. You remember what that is, work? And something like that. And just kind of gives him back the power. So I actually was trying to talk to Jeff Ross about that moment and be like, I think it's crazy you got to work with Milton Berle. Nobody knows who that is. Yeah. And then he went up and hogged up everybody's mic time. And I was like, fuck. I wish I hadn't tried to cheese your dick for a second, dude. Sorry.
I feel like it's just because I've been around so many comics when they're still just good kids and we're all like trying and then seeing them, become assholes, most everybody, like when they get a little bit of fame or a lot of fame. And it's just like, wow.
Yeah. Not
that I don't want it for myself.
Same. Of course. We all listen. I want the big house looking at the ocean, but hopefully be nice on the way there, sort of a thing. Yeah. I haven't been in the game that long, but it is interesting once you start seeing people from that trajectory, from like the seed to whatever people bounce around to. Yeah. Because it is sort of like what you don't get to pick what's going to happen. Yeah. At least in this game, is the lesson I'm learning really fast is like you can have a plan or a goal, but you're gonna have a really fucked up way of getting there. Like there's nothing about it that you're ever gonna anticipate. Right. It's interesting. I think about, I've only been in LA for 5 years. I've been doing stand-up for 10 years. I'm like, I see a picture of me then. I'm like, look at that shithead. He has no idea what he thinks he's doing. He thinks he knows what he's doing. Right? Yeah. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas, and then Austin, Texas. So the birthplace of evangelism, right? I watch the church channel all the time.
What channel?
The church channel.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Jimmy Swaggart is a piano player. Right. And he's really talented. He and his cousin, Jerry Lee Lewis, were brought up and taught the same. Anyway, he has a Busendorfer grand piano on his stage in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where he asks his church members to tithe. And a Busendorfer piano costs $200,000. Whoa. It is a house that he plays for a piano. It's like, wow. I mean, in Baton Rouge, that's like 40 houses.
When I was 8, I started taking piano lessons, and the teacher was married to a minister. And I had taken piano lessons from 8 to 16 and still am not good at it. But anyway, she would make me pray, like get on my knees and put my elbows on the piano bench and pray with her, and she would cry. Yeah.
And then before the lesson?
No, after. And then she'd, because I suck so hard, pray that you have some other talent, to accept Jesus. And then she would give me the Watchtower. And I think from like 8 to 10 or so, I felt really bad. Like, yeah, I would like to believe, I want to. And then I'd ask my mom to go to church because Mrs. Roman kept asking me to go. And
she sounds very piano teacher.
Yeah, and I think she wanted my mom to go too because my mom's like single mom.
See, that's what I'm talking about. She is backdoor missionarying.
Yeah,
using the child as the conduit.
Yeah,
don't you think that's messed up?
Yeah,
like you were played.
I definitely was.
She was playing you like a piano.
I know, and I felt guilty too. And then around, I think probably 12 or 13, just being tall and flat and having acne, I realized there was no God, and I don't want to. I'm not going to even pretend for her.
It didn't take much. Didn't take much time. I had this aunt that I loved, and I just liked hang, and my uncle too. Like I like hang out with them. And somewhere in the like 90s ish, she just started going to church a lot, and it was one of those like. I think this really sprung up in the 90s, like a rock and roll church where there's like a band and they have like maybe some multimedia on the stage and stuff and like a new construction church kind of a thing. But I truly just liked her company. I just liked going to hang out with my aunt. It had nothing to do with like the lesson. But it was similarly, it was kind of before I was like sure about my queerness. And I'm sitting there in North Texas and there was a guest preacher. And I literally sat through there's a war out there against homosexuals. And that's when I was like, I don't like this guy. But then the very next thing out of his mouth was there's a war out there against Marilyn Manson. I was like, this is fucking hilarious.
Oh,
like,
wow.
If I'm in the same category as Marilyn Manson, let's go. Like, come on. Like, fuck you. Like, this can't be real. Because everybody else was taking it so seriously.
How was the music?
Ghastly. Are you kidding me? I hate Christian rock or of any kind, or any kind of electric Christian music, because they can never get away from the lyrics that are mountains, glory, high, right? It's never, that's it. You're always singing on some big old high mountain.
Yeah.
I hate Christian music. Sorry, Dad.
Yeah. I guess I associate country music with Christian music, but it isn't always. And I think there's some amazing country music.
Well, so like I never made friends at church, like Sunday school and all that kind of stuff. I had friends there, but they were usually from school or outside, but I never took like life from church out of that. And I find that country music is sort of the same. It has this weird, you mistake it for being friendly, but then, oops, the whole audience is full of bigots. Like, you know what I mean? Like, look what they did to the Dixie Chicks.
Yeah.
Like they dragged them through the mud for saying nothing.
It's really sad, when comics die, but it's worse when musicians die. And here's why.
Why?
It's because you don't lose your virginity to a comedy act. Unless you're like a weird fuck. Oh, we lost.
Run screaming if you lose your virginity to a comedy.
We lost it to Steve Martin's Let's Get Small, and he got small.
That's hysterical. There's no sentimentality of losing a comic because you never fucked to that. Oh my God.
That is another what we thought would happen. Not to be so obvious about it, but when people start, in this business, to become an actor or musician or anything, in the performing arts, if I could
be so bold.
Yeah.
It's an art.
Is it? Okay.
It's an art.
You think, oh, okay, I'll get on this show or do this. But what it is really for most of us is it's being unemployed and looking for a job. You're always looking for another job, another gig.
Yeah, no. I was fucking sweeping floors for years.
I mean, I'm really impressed with how not just intuitive you were, but just that, that you were curious about culture and cool things and cool music. Because I had to stay with my cousins when I was a kid, I was brought up on such shitty music.
Like what?
Like Molly Hatchet and Leonard Skinner. Like we all had Leonard Skinner on our notebooks. We didn't even know what it meant. I didn't know what it meant. And
these are in the Jamestown days.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
So you were just kind of like white rock by default.
I guess AC/DC a little.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not that any of these bands are bad. It's just like, but it was really,
it's a demographic.
Should be like trash rock, I guess, or whatever.
Sure, these days particularly.
Government cheese rock is what I call it.
Yes. I don't know, because I was only exposed to like what my family listened to, which was either like they would always do, there was a lot of Enya.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. For some reason, that was really strong in the family. My dad was huge in Barbra Streisand, shades of gay. Or Elton John. That was it. Their like record collection was only Elton John and fucking Barbra Streisand, which are I would call red flags.
I'm still thinking, like, I don't remember that album Shades of Gay by Barbara Streisand. But
She's yet to put it out. That bitch has one left in her, I guess. Yeah. I'm not much into like, I want to know where famous people live, but because she's in Malibu, I want to know where she lives.
Oh, I know. Well, they call that the Barbara Streisand effect. Do you know about that?
What?
The realtors, because she made such a big deal about having her property enclosed so that for privacy, that then everybody knew where it was. Then she, by doing that, so many people found out where she lived.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and they called that the Streisand effect.
That's funny. I don't know. I'm reading this book about the Romanovs and like 200 years of the Romanovs. They were just fucking left, right, and center. Not and essentially, but they were just these royals who were having all kinds of orgy-esque stuff. Meanwhile, using the they were all sanctified by the Lord, right? Everybody, the Jesus or whatever God chose them. So the people were scared because of religion. Meanwhile, they were fucking breaking all the rules, which I think Hollywood is sort of that for us.
Yeah. Well, I'm always amazed too when people, are into the ancestry stuff and they, they're secretly hoping that they're, they have royal blood.
Right.
But the royals are more inbred than pugs.
Yes. I'm surprised their eyes don't fall out of this.
I know. It's like there's 5 families.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've read, there's this really brilliant book. I'm obsessed with the Romanovs and the Rasputin and all that kind of stuff. But one of the foremost books is old. It's called Nicholas and Alexander. I forget the author. But the book shows a family tree. The first page of it is the family tree of World War I. All the royals in Europe, and that's like everyone in charge is connected to the tree.
Yeah,
and
they're all related to King George or King George III. Or
but
whatever.
They literally all it's and the way they because it's all based on their journals and their letters and stuff to each other is that they are all brokering marriages with cousins for money and power. Like that's straight up what's going on. Like keep it in the family, and we can fuck. On my grandmother's side of the family, through marriage, not blood related to us, but her father died in a plane crash and her mother married another man. Those people were married cousins and had kids. And it's like, that shit goes down, be poor or not. It's like fascinating. But rich people want to keep the money and they'll do literally anything to keep it in the family.
I know. Have you seen A New Leaf?
No, what is that?
It's my favorite comedy. It's with Walter Matthau, Elaine May, who's brilliant. She wrote it and she's in it. Oh. And I can kind of do a little impression of her in that.
Of Elaine May?
Yeah.
What is it?
Henry, I think you should think about teaching. I think you would really enjoy it.
People also forget how handsome Walter Matthau was back in the day.
I know. What about, dashing. I'm sure you've seen A Face in the Crowd.
No, I'm telling you, I have blind spot.
Walter Matthau was in A Face in the Crowd with Andy Griffith.
Okay, who was
really
handsome in pictures sometimes.
Yeah. Well,
he has Ronald Reagan syndrome, where you're like, kinda.
But that's an amazing, amazing movie. A Face in the Crowd. You have to see it.
I think it's the I'm dumb, like that makes him not sexy to me, even though I know that's not how he was in real life.
Yeah, he was very smart. I mean,
Face in the Crowd.
One, I think when he did his show and he found Don Knotts, he just said, well, I guess I'm going to be the straight man in this and he's going to be the star, basically, because he's so funny, Don Knotts.
This can be...
But they were real friends, I guess, too. I mean, they're friends, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, this might be too nerdy. You don't have to talk about this. But okay, I know for a fact she's talked about it in interviews that the character Jackie, Laurie Metcalf, was slowly styled after Don Knotts. Eventually, like making her a cop. And then like she met with him and had lunch with him and stuff. But Roseanne is talking about, like, you notice as the seasons progress that she gets more bug-eyed and way more cartoonish in her reactions and very Don Knotts adjacent. Whereas early Jackie seasons 1, 2, 3, 4-ish, she's a little bit more conservative and less cartoonish. But like the making her of a cop, her problems with authority and never being respected and always wanting it. Those were like the chip on the shoulder. We're all like a Don Knotts nod, which I love. Like on Laurie Metcalf, that I always thought, because you notice she's by season 9, I forget your era on that show, but like by season 9, she's way goofy.
Yeah, I forget it too.
That seems to be the resounding feel, but I might be reading too much into that. If you could tell me what Jackie's hair looked like, I could tell you what season it was.
That is the gayest thing I've ever heard.
I tell you. Well, that's one of my favorite shows. I know Roseanne's racist and has been canceled, and the Trump support is fucking unforgivable, but whatever. But the show in the 90s was pivotal. It spoke to people. It spoke for poor people. It was a racially integrated show.
Writing on that show was so much fun because there were so many writers. We were all in separate, it was like 8 comics in a room. We were responsible for, each of us was like responsible for 2 jokes for the whole day.
Wild.
Yeah, basically.
Because that's a high pressure show because you're working for a comic. And I think she's known for like annihilating scripts or trying to.
In her defense, she gives everybody a chance.
Yeah.
I think, or she did, And so then if somebody was like nice to her who was sweeping outside or whatever, she'd give them a job and then have to fire them because they didn't know what they were doing. Or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And also Tom Arnold was really nice. Like he helped hire some of the writers. And I found out that the writer who was like the head of our room was a bartender where they're from. I forgot where they're from.
He's like Idaho or some shit.
Yeah. He was funny, but it was like, he
was giving all his friends. Yeah. Well, this was fun.
I know.
I like talking to you.
I'm so glad. I know. I'm glad I'm getting to know you and other people.
I need to go out more, but I need to go out more with a microphone in my face.
Yeah, because we can't just have like a natural, like intimate or like a real friendship without it being documented.
Totally. Right? Well, yeah, we're New Century. Look at us.
Yeah.
Being all New Century. Well, this is fun. I like talking to you.
I know. I do too.
What do we have to do? Now we have to do everything together.
I know. I know.
We have a list. You have movies I need to watch.
Yes.
And then guys we both need to fuck. Old movie stars we need to think about.
Yeah. And just like I really appreciate it when friends help me do things around the house. Like I want to wallpaper the bathroom and I don't know how.
I love that you've cajoled me into a long conversation at lunch and now you're bringing up the labor. After all of this, I knew there was something else going on.
It's always a catch, right?
I wondered what that canvas all and those over that one-piece Dickie suit was doing hanging in the zone. It's like, is that why those coveralls are hanging there? I look good in coveralls.
I'm sure you do.
Well, I need a waistline. Oh. Who doesn't?
Oof, I know.
Well, let's do this more.
Thank you.
Hopefully they'll listen to us more.
Yeah. I feel like what I think is going to happen is we'll be doing like, big theaters all over the world.
Well, that's what we thought would happen.